Welcome back, couples, to another episode of Young
Melinated.
and Married, where we touch on topics that we've experienced as a young Black married couple, and we know you've experienced these too. Today's episode is about parenting.
Yeah, I mean, raising children and parenting is crazy. I'm not going to even lie. I mean, we are, going through a lot of learning curves. One, we started raising our children in America. Now we moved to a whole different country. We live in the Gambia, West Africa now, and we're raising our children here. And it's been a roller coaster ride. I mean, I will honestly say that us moving to the Gambia with our children has been one of the best decisions, if not the best decision of our lives, because we're seeing a whole new side of our children. We're seeing whole new parenting styles where our parenting style has changed since being here from things that we've observed. There's a lot of stuff that you see in America that they say is okay of how you should treat your children and stuff like that. But here you see a lot of different ways that it's a cultural difference, right? And which leads me to my first thoughts of when it comes to raising our children here, and that's that cultural pride. In America, giving your children a sense of cultural pride is a bit harder because you're afraid of what they're going to go out and say with that information that you give them, especially the younger they are. Young children, they don't care. They don't have a filter. They're going to say whatever they think. Oh, you're ugly, or you got a booger hanging up. They're gonna say whatever they feel like they want to say. So telling your children about slavery, about the system and how it's working, they can go into the schools and start saying that stuff and they get in trouble. But here, cultural pride is it's so second nature that if you say something like, oh, here the Olaf tribes they do this, or here the food is this way because of the spices, or it's not shunned, it's not looked down upon. It's just something that everybody knows is commonplace. It's woven into the fabric of this place. So I feel like cultural pride and putting that into our children is something that's beautiful, and it's something that we won't have any struggles with here. Now, of course, with teaching your child cultural pride, that open dialogue is hands down number one, because having open growing up, it wasn't really I didn't really have an open dialogue in my household. You couldn't just come to your parent and say anything, and you might get a whooping, you might not even get an answer. So that's something that we're practicing here wholeheartedly, is that open dialogue. Now we're not just telling our kids, because of course every child asks, "Oh, how are babies born?" We're not just telling them, "Oh, the urethra and ovum and all that stuff like that." We're not getting all detailed and stuff like that, but there's an open dialogue between us. Any question they have that is within their age range to answer, we answer it. Any issue that arises, we let them know why it's happening. Sometimes the power goes out here in West Africa and in the area that we live, and it's not just our household. It's like the community. It's like, oh, why is the power out? Well, the power is out because there's an energy company, and the energy company has issues, and sometimes when they have issues, the power goes out. That open dialogue is so key. I remember growing up, when the power went out, my mom would tell us, "Oh, we're going to have a candle party," and we didn't know why the power was going out. We didn't know that maybe a bill couldn't be paid or whatever the issue was. It was just secrets. There was a lot of stuff that was withheld from us, and that was the culture back in the '90s. If you're a child, get out the room when the adults are talking. It was a whole different system that we were raised on. So I definitely want to say, with raising your child and parenting in a young Black marriage, make sure you give your child cultural pride. Make sure you give them that open dialogue.
Yeah. I feel like, from what we've experienced with raising our kids and being young, and I say emphasis on young because our children are blessed. They're very
Yes.
blessed. I never experienced a two-parent household at any point in my life. I never experienced a man in the house at any point in my life, and these children have um, a stable household where their mother and their father is there. But they also have, I always said that I was never um, give trauma to my children because of the trauma that I went through as a child. But as an adult and as a mother, I realized that that's not actually something that I can control 100%. I can't shelter my kids from trauma, especially with being a young mother, because my children have to grow up with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that if I were to have waited until maybe I was 30, 35 and had my kids, they would have had a different experience. But with having your children young, you have to deal with your childhood trauma while also trying to not traumatize your children
Yeah, you have to learn fast.
at the same time. And a lot of times you don't learn too fast, even though you should, or I should say, you wish that you could. Um, but that's the thing that I've noticed, that is, I wouldn't say I regret having my children young, but it is something that um I wish that I didn't have, which is the traumas that I know that I pushed off onto them.
And
And it's conversations that
no,
we've
go ahead.
had about it with the children, as far as if I'm hurting their feelings at certain times, but I'm not taking the steps to resolve the issues, or if they're looking for attention and I'm pushing them away, that's giving them trauma. And I'm not realizing it at the time, but going back on it, I try to amend it in different ways. And we're learning as humans, as parents, and also as friends to our children. But that's something that, as a young parent, you should think about. How are you pushing off your trauma onto your children? And what unresolved traumas do you have that you have not even looked at?
Yes, absolutely. That's so important, and that really speaks to like having a positive role model as you grow up. Because in parenting, if you don't have a positive role model, you are what you eat. So what happened to you as a child, the trauma that builds up from not having a positive role model, whatever they did or didn't do to you, reflects directly onto your children now. So if in our lives, we only try to encircle ourselves around positive individuals, good people. If you come to our house, you're a good person. We've known you for a while. We've met with you. We've talked with you. You are a friend. You're damn near our family before you can ever even come and see our children, introduce yourself to our children, because the role models and the things that people see. And that's another reason why we came here from America, because the TV screen, the computer screen, the phone screen, what you see when you walk outside every day, you go to the Mall of America, is so heavily controlled, and it's so many narratives that are put out that you really can't stop your child from receiving those narratives in America. But here, living in the Gambia, we've been able to really streamline and control all of the outside noise that your child will be receiving. Because, like they say, you only raise your child while they're in your house. Once they step outside, they go down the street, they go to their friend's house, they go next door, they go out with their friends to the mall or something like that. Now it's the world raising them. So what world are your children in? So that positive role model is so so important, and how you educate them too. Education is not just a school. Education starts at the home. When your baby is born and they get home and they start breastfeeding, and then you start waking them up at specific times and stuff like that. That's when the education begins. It doesn't begin when they finally go to pre-K and stuff like that. So right now we homeschool our children, and right before we left from Africa, we started that. From America, we started that process. So it wasn't something just like new to us, but like educating our children has definitely helped us. One, they're not getting as sick as they used to get, because in America it was so many like viruses and stuff going around in the schools. They would always be sick every week. And as soon as we started homeschooling them, that went out the window. Also, we can keep a more steady schedule, or if they need a break, or it's all designated by us. You know, what we want to teach them, the level of what we want to teach them is all designated by us. We can teach them more of history, science, whatever we want right now, instead of just having it be just ABCs and things of that nature. So, and this move here to the Gambia has educated them and us so much. There's so many things that we never saw before. There's so many cultural things that we never seen before. People that we never like, types of people that we never experienced before, and we're able to see that here. So I definitely want to say education, having a positive role model, and also community involvement. Oh my goodness, you know, my wife, she was into the community in America. She did a couple of things. I'll let her speak on that. And when I was in America, I did like one or two. Like when in high school, my mom had like a food drive, go out and make food for the homeless. And they were building a park one year by my old neighborhood, and I went out there and helped them build the park and stuff like that. But here in the Gambia, and you can check out some of our videos of our channel, we're doing a lot more community work than we ever did in America, and it's beautiful, you know. And that's something that our children are right there. You know, we don't leave our children at home; they come with us when we do all this stuff. So that's a whole nother side that we never experienced growing up, and so we're trying to also be that positive role model that's educating our children, and community involvement has definitely helped that.
Yeah. I think that I always wanted to, because I've been since I was in high school. They forced us to have 100 volunteer hours in order to graduate, and I actually I had a rough childhood, and so anytime that I could get away from the house, I was happy, and so I took those times that I was out volunteering, and I let them fill me up, and I actually, found a passion for it, and I'm just super into community work, and giving back in charity any way that I can. And so here we've in America, we I was doing different things, like Adam said, the food drives, and then also the I will go to some of the local charities and organize the food stock that they had. I participated in the giveaways. I participated in like public Easter egg hunts where you would go out, you would hide the eggs for the kids, and then just monitor the area as they came in, came out, and just different things like that. And here, um, my goal and my hope is to teach our children the importance of giving back to the community.
Absolutely.
We only have one home, and right now our home does not have a great foundation, and so having our children here in Africa with us is amazing.
Yes.
And being able to have events and them watch us host the events, come up with the ideas, brainstorm, conduct the events, and go through with these different events is something that I could only wish that I was able to give them. So definitely giving them a sense of community through community work is important in parenting.
Yes. And you know, parenting, like I said when we first started the video, is crazy. You know, and like I also said earlier, that open dialogue is very important, and you gotta be really careful in that, because as a young black uh, and married couple, as a young melanated married couple, and even if you're an older, you know, married couple and you're black, the elephant in the room is always racism. And that's something that culturally, as African Americans, as Africans, as black people, we have to go into detail to our children a little bit more than any other culture on this planet. I feel like that's very specific to us, because of course we know that slavery happened, it happened for hundreds of years, but what do you tell your children? When do you tell them? Our children, they still don't really know everything are really about slavery. Like, when is the right time to tell them so they can conceptualize it and really have that in their mind and understand what it means for them? But I will say that, like, moving here to the Gambia and raising our children here, you don't see, there's not as many elements of racism here. And it's racism everywhere in the world. So I'm not going to ever say that it's not here. But the percentage, I'll give you a percentage, right? If America is 98% racist, here in the Gambia, it's 30%, 20% racist. So, that's the percentage wise you'll see. You'll rarely see it here. Of course, we're the majority. This is Africa. So it's a different kind of ball game here. Now, you got to be very specific because racism is, we're one human race, first of all. So racism, really, the word itself is flawed. But when people think about racism, they think about white, black, Asian, Australian. They think about that as racist, even though it's all one human. They think about those separate demographics as racism is separated, and if you have some type of bigoted thought process or response to that individual, that's what's considered racism nowadays. So here, as the majority, our children hopefully will never experience racism here. But what they might experience here is classism, which is, oh, you're African American, because both of our children were born in America. They still got their American passports, all of that stuff. So they're still classified as African American. And some locals here might see them and feel like, oh, you have more privilege, you have more wealth, and so you don't deserve. I mean, you should not be here because you have a better place you could be. Why are you here? And they might look down on them. They might have social problems in school because of that. Once we put them in the public school or private school here, and we've heard these stories. We've heard these stories from different families that move to different parts of Africa, and they have children. They go to the schools, they get bullied and things of that nature. They get mocked, and kids copying their accents and stuff like that. So I don't really see. We're going to definitely inform our kids about racism. Definitely inform them of our history, what we've been through, what to watch out for, discrimination. Um, but here, I feel like it's going to be even bigger. The classism problem is going to be a bigger issue for them. So, being a young married couple, these are some of the things that we have to think about. Being a young black couple, that's one of the things that we really have to highlight and expound upon with our children because that's so important in this day and age. And it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. In our lifetime, in their lifetime, it's still going to be racism. It's still going to be classism. It's still going to be these issues. So we just have to touch and go. And it's always a timing thing. Everything in life is about timing, from getting on a plane to going on a trip to applying for a job to starting a business. Everything's about timing. So the right time to explain to them, I feel like, is we're in that window now. We're in that window now of starting to explain these things to them and letting them know, hey, if you're getting treated like this out in the street, they call you too, Bob. Say, no, my name is Zola. My name is Alora. Let them know you don't take that type of discrimination. We always tell our kids, you don't hit somebody, but if they hit you, you defend yourself. And this is the conversation that we're starting to have with them because we're getting into that age.
Yeah, I think that those are great topics, and I literally was going to talk about the classism. So that's all I had on that front. But I think for me too as well with parenting that I'm learning is about um emotional intelligence when it comes to knowing my child. We as parents, we need to learn how to study our children um in an emotional way so that we can learn and engage them when they're going through certain temperaments. And that'll help you to, I don't want to say control your child, but it'll help you to um, mitigate them or calm them when the time comes. We have a 6 year old and a 3 year old that lives with us in the house. And to whenever Alora is getting sad, she will come to me and she'll rub my ear. Or whenever Zola wants attention, she'll come to me and just try to lay on top of me like any way that she can, as far as like just to get some kind of physical um touch. And these are ways that I've gauged and I've watched them to notice any kind of emotional up or down. But I think that as with us being, African American, growing up in the 90s, growing up with parents that wasn't really hugging you, and that's not all parents, it's not all African American households, but it's a good majority of them where your mother and your father wasn't hugging you and they didn't care to.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care to help your feelings or acknowledge that you were sad because of the lack of attention that they were giving you. And so as, a black couple, that's something that we have to be super mindful of.
Yes.
Because we were neglected as children, and once again with that trauma, it's easy to do those same things or have those same traits towards your children. But you just have to have emotional intelligence, and you have to watch your children, learn your children, engage them, so that whenever they come to you and they do these little small things that you might feel like annoying, like, girl, move, get off me, or go play, or I'm busy, you just have to stop and think and say, okay, let me give them this 15 minutes. You know what? I have been working since 6 a.m. It's now 6 p.m. Let me get off and spend time with my kids, or even, finishing your work up, but scheduling time to give to them where you say, okay, I'm not doing any work today. I'm only being with them. I'm not answering any calls. I'm only being with them. And so you just have to, take the time, think about those things, and see how you can insert yourself.
And that's speaking to balanced discipline. Not just disciplining your children, but you having personal discipline. Like she said, schedule your time. You got 2 hours you work, an hour you're with your kids, 3 hours you work, 2 hours you're with your kids. Balance it out, because having a balanced discipline is very important. You need to implement fair and consistent strategies for disciplining your children. You don't need to have some wild tangent on one end because they dropped the apple, and then on another end when they hit somebody in public or something like that, you say, oh, it's okay. You need to have some balance in how you're disciplining your children. And how we were raised, any little thing, you got to whoop it. With our children, we give them way more leeway, but we also understand, because this is another thing, on our way here, even flying through Europe, come back down, flying through Africa, to get here to the Gambia, we notice how culturally people treat their kids different. People rarely whoop their kids in public here. We've actually never seen a child get a whooping here in public. In America, ooh-wee. You getting popped in the mall, you getting popped in Walmart, you getting popped at CVS, you getting popped in a car, you getting popped. We saw that all the time, and sometimes we disciplined our child that way as well, because it's the norm there. It's a mentality, it's a culture built off of slavery. So at the end of the day, you're used to punishment being physical. But here, it's a lot different. They might verbally discipline the child, verbally with words or something like that. Not even harsh, not cursing them out or anything. But, stop it. Don't do that. Make sure you be careful, you be mindful. Or they might take away a toy from them, something like that. And that's how the discipline acts here. And the people are way more laid back. They're way more stress-free because they didn't have that strain and stress of getting beat every day. growing up. So it creates a different culture and different atmosphere. So having that balanced discipline is so important. And you want to emphasize love, you want to emphasize understanding, and you really want to teach them life lessons, because life lessons, that's a form of disciplining your child. So they learn those life lessons, and once they move out of your household, they're ready to go. They're ready to, they're more equipped, they're more resilient in life. So, family, I hope that some of these things that we share with you today are things that you can really impart on your situation, your parenting, raising your children, because this is things that we've learned over the past 6, 7, 10, 20, our whole lives, basically since we were little. And you literally need to take your whole life, put it in a capsule like a pill, swallow it, and really come to terms with who you are as a person, what you've been through, the traumas you've been through as a child, and really that should help you shape your parenting and shape how you raise your children in the long run. So thank you for, tuning in today.
Thank you for listening in to today's show. If you like this episode, watch out for our next episode, self-care and mental health. If you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, don't just stay together, grow together.